Hey, what's good fam? In this video, I'm going to talk about my approach to processing vocal samples on the Roland SP-404 Mark II. Things like the different effects I use to shape the sounds and some ways I like to layer them into my beats. Having just recently put together a 16-track beat tape, this is something I've done a lot in the last few months. So, long story short, I do this in two steps. First, I resample the vocal chops with effects to dirty them up slightly to give them a little bit more personality, and also EQ out the lows and the highs so they sit better in the mix. The second step would then be to experiment with reverbs and delays to find out what sounds best with the type of beat I'm working on. Now, whether you're sampling your vocal chops from songs or DJ Tools records, or plugging in a dynamic microphone and recording them yourself, these tips will apply just the same. If you're looking for a simple mic to record vocals directly into the front input of the 404, these four I can vouch for. If you don't own a Shure SM58, you probably should. They're indestructible, so grab a cheap one second hand and for like $10 you can replace the disgusting grill it probably comes with. My personal recommendation is the Audix i5. I've used it on vocals, snare drums, acoustic guitars, guitar amps, etc, etc. It's pretty damn versatile. Right, enough about mics. Before the SP-404 Mark II was released, my go-to move would be to sample and trim the vocal chops first on the SP-404A. Yeah. Bounce it to the SP-202 for a little bit of that lower sample rate dirt. Yeah. Then bounce that to the SP-303 with Isolator to remove the low and high frequency bands. Yeah. I'll then throw that back onto the 404A to add reverbs and delays, etc. But with the new 404, there's so many different effects you can use to do pretty much the same thing but with tasty little variations. When I'm cooking up a joint and I'm focused and I'm in the zone, nothing ruins my momentum more than having to go hunting for vocal samples. So one Sunday I sat down, sifted through tons of acapellas, and I filled up an entire project of things like this.
Yo, deadly styles. Yeah.
And thanks to the latest firmware update, I can now load this project, find a vocal sample I want to use, and copy it to the project with the beat I'm working on, which in today's example is Project 8 Bank B.
Yeah.
So here's the beat I'll be working with. And now the part of the video you probably just skipped to. Let's play with some effects. First, I'm going to try to replicate that SP-202 SP-303 combo I showed you earlier. I should point out that in effect settings, I have the bus configuration set to serial mode, so my sample will be affected by both buses 1 and 2, and I have nothing running on buses 3 and 4. You'll notice the pad with my sample on it is blue and the others are white. This means pad 1 is going to buses 1 and 2, and the rest of the beat is dry. So I can mess with the effects on the sample while listening to the beat, which remains unaffected. On bus 1, I'm going to use Crusher. Turn down the filter slightly.
Yeah.
Keep rate at 0, and give it about a 70-30 balance to keep it subtle.
Yeah.
Next on bus 2, I'm going to use Isolator to bring in the lows slightly and completely remove the highs. And resample that. So now listen to how it sits in the mix compared to the raw vocal sample. To me, even without reverb and delay, that sits much nicer between the drums and the melodic stuff. Effect combo number 2. Bus 1, Equalizer, with lows and highs turned all the way down and mids set to 0. And sweep through the lows and the highs until you like how it sounds. Bus 2, Cassette Sim. This is an effect where there's no wrong answer, and even if you set everything to 0, it sounds dope. But for this one, I'm going to set tone to about 80. And crank that age, drive, and wow flutter. Alright, effect combo number 3. Bus 1, warm saturator, starting with everything set to 0.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can already hear that it's doing the thing I want it to. However, for this sample, I think I want slightly less lows.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And reducing the highs I find makes it a little bit less abrasive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now I'm going to bring up the drive a little until I hear it just starting to break up.
Yeah, yeah.
And bus 2 404 vinyl sim with everything set to 0.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
This makes it sound just a little bit smaller and dirtier. Effect combo number 4. Bus 1, lo-fi. This is another one where there really is no wrong way to use it.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm a set pre-filter to 6, lo-fi type to 9, and tone to like 70.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Cut off to like 2500 Hz, balance is set to 0 to 100, and level is down around 50. Bus 2, and this is the real secret sauce ingredient, JUNO Chorus. This takes mono stuff and makes it sound real stereo wide. With balance set to 0 to 100 and noise all the way down, I'm using JX1 2 mode, but this is a fun one to experiment with all the different options.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so let's see what all these sound like with the beat.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
They're all subtle variations of each other, but we can all agree that in the mix, the original one sticks out like dog's nuts. Next, let's look at reverbs and delays. And I guess before this step is about when I'd start thinking about if I want to adjust the pitch of the sample.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But for this video, I'm just going to keep it where it was. When it comes to reverb for this sort of thing, I like to use hole 1 or hole 2 and set a pretty long time. In this case, 87. Level is set to 0 because I'm going to set that while the beat is playing.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Moving on, tape echo. I really appreciate how they made this one. I love the stereo side stuff. It's awesome. I've got time set to about 400 milliseconds, a long feedback of about 78%, level down low like 32, mode is S&M, wow flutter rate and depth both at 50.
Yeah.
That's cool as is, but sometimes it's nice to then throw a reverb on bus 2 with the same settings I used before.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, one last combo. Bus 1, SX delay. Time set to quarter notes, feedback to about 40%, and balance to about 87 to 13.
Yeah.
On bus 2, SX reverb. I have time set to 44, tone set to 0, though it could be darker, and balance at 95 to 5.
Yeah.
That's pretty nice, but I got a thing I like to do sometimes, and that is to very slowly turn up the balance after a few delays to bring the reverb in the quieter the delays get.
Yeah.
When you resample this one, make sure you have the recording BPM set to that of your beat, because that's the tempo the SX delay is reading from when resampling.
Yeah.
So I think that's enough examples of effects processing. At this point, it's ready to be added to the pattern. And you can think about if you prefer to have gate mode on or off, depending on what you want to do with it. There's two ways I like to mess with it when recording in the pattern sequencer. One is in 16 velocity mode. And the other in chromatic mode. And this is of course not to mention the crazy glitch stuff you can do in the TR rec mode. Okay, I'm gonna leave you with one more gem, and that is using DJFX Looper for a little fake scratching thing at the start of the sample. Set length to 0.012, speed at like, let's say -50, and loop switch off. I'm gonna do something like this. And to take it one step further, I'm gonna throw tremolo pan on bus 2. Resample that, but do it with metronome on. Righto. That's about all there is to that. Much love to everyone who's been listening to my CHOPSMITH OFFCUTS 3 beat tape. You people's messing with my stuff really means a lot. Take it easy, fam. Laters.